I called it in a rare moment. One big beautiful bill, that's what I like, and it seems to me that's where they're heading. And we'll have to take care of something to do with Los Angeles. A place called Los Angeles almost burned to the ground. By the way, I broke into Los Angeles. Can you believe it? I had a break-in. I invaded Los Angeles, and we opened up the water, and the water is now flowing down. They have so much water, they don't know what to do. They're sending it out to the Pacific for environmental reasons. Okay, can you believe it? And in the meantime, they lost 25,000 houses. They lost, and nobody's ever seen it like that. But we have the water. Let me show you a picture. You've seen the picture. The water is flowing through the half pipes. You know, the big half pipes that they used to. 25 years ago, they used to have plenty of water, but they turned it off. Well, again, for environmental reasons. Well, I turned it on for environmental reasons and also fire reasons. But and I've been asking them to do that during my first term. I said, do it. I didn't think anything like could happen like this, but they didn't have enough water. Now the farmers are going to have water for their land, and the water is in there. But I actually had to break in. We broke in to do it because we had people that were afraid to give water. They were, in particular, they were trying to protect a certain little fish. And I said, how do you protect the fish if you don't have water? They didn't have any water, so they're protecting a fish. And that didn't work out too well, by the way. So they have a lot of water going down throughout California, all coming out from the Pacific Northwest, even some from Canada. Thank you, Canada, very much. I appreciate it. Next thing you know, they'll want to turn the water off. They want to charge us for the water. But it comes up from the Pacific Northwest, and it's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, it is brimming with water. Now, if they would have had that done, you wouldn't have had the damage because the fire would have been put out. The fire hydrants would have been loaded. The sprinklers in people's living rooms and bedrooms would have been loaded up with water. They had no water. The government makes them put sprinklers, and they had no water in the sprinklers because they had no water. So the water is flowing, and we're going to have to give a lot of money to Los Angeles to help them. And the Democrats are going to want to do that. So that's the one thing different. And frankly, I think that makes it a lot easier. But one of the big thing is we have the big, beautiful bill. We got to get that done. And that will put our country in a position like it's never been. It's a reduction of taxes. It's tremendous incentives for companies to come from all over the world into our country. It's great environmentally. But it's not this environmental scam that we went through, that we all went through. It provides for everything. It's a big, beautiful bill, and I hope we can get it approved, and that'll be next. But in the meantime, we have the continuing resolution, and the Republicans have approved it, and now the Democrats have to approve it, and I hope they will. And I think a lot of them, I can tell you, they want to. I've spoken to some of them. They really want to. Their leadership may not want them to. And if it closes, it's purely on the Democrats. One more?
On Korea, we've seen tension increasing in the peninsula. You've talked about Kim Jong-un. Do you have any plans of re-establishing the relationship you had during the first mandate?
Well, I would. I had a great relationship with Kim Jong-un, North Korea. If I wasn't elected, if Hillary got in, you would have had a nuclear war with North Korea. He expected it. He expected it. And they said, oh, thousands of people. No, millions of people would have been killed. But I got in. We went to Singapore, we met. We went to Vietnam, we met. We got along really good. We had a very good relationship. And we still do. We still do. You don't have that threat that you had. I mean, look, when I was running the first time, it looked like there was going to be a war with North Korea. You know that better than me.
Tensions were high.
Yeah. And it started off.
It started that you invited him for talks.
Right.
You did.
It started off very rough, and he wouldn't meet with Obama, wouldn't take his calls. I said, how many times did you call? They called a lot. He wouldn't take their call. He told me I wouldn't take his call. But with me, it did start off rough, if you remember. Very rough, actually, very nasty.
It was a scene.
And yeah, but then no, before that, then it stopped. The rhetoric was extremely tough. It was.
You had a speech in UN, remember?
Yeah, that's right. It was a little bit dangerous. And then we met. They asked for a meeting, and we met. And the meeting caused the Olympics, which was in South Korea, to become a tremendous success. Nobody was buying tickets for the Olympics because they didn't want to be nuked. And I met, and not only did the Olympics become successful, but North Korea participated in the Olympics. It was an amazing thing. And that was something that was an achievement of the Trump administration, great achievement. And so I have a great relationship with Kim Jong-un. And we'll see what happens, but certainly he's a nuclear power. Hello, everybody. It's great to be with a friend of mine who was Prime Minister of the Netherlands. I got to know him very well. We had a great relationship always. Mark Rutte. Now he's Secretary General of NATO and doing a fantastic job. Everybody, every report I've gotten is what a great job he did, and I'm not at all surprised when I hear it. We had to support him, and we supported him as soon as I heard the name. But he was a fantastic Prime Minister, and he's doing a fantastic job. An even tougher job. Which is tougher, being the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, or?
This job is quite tough.
I would think this is a little...
but Dutch politics is also brutal. So.
Yeah, but this is pretty tough.
Yeah.
You're doing good. We're going to be discussing a lot of things. Obviously, we'll be discussing what's happening with respect to Ukraine and Russia. At this moment, we have people talking in Russia. We have representatives over there, Steve Witkoff and others. And they're in very serious discussions. As you know, Ukraine has agreed, subject to this, what's happening today, to a complete ceasefire, and we hope Russia will do the same. Thousands of people are being killed, young people, usually, mostly young people. We were just talking about it. Thousands of young people are being killed a week, and we want to see that stop. And they're not Americans, and they're not from the Netherlands for the most part. They're from Russia, and they're from Ukraine. But they're people, and I think everybody feels the same way. We want it to stop. It's also a tremendous cost to the United States and to other countries. And it's something that would have never happened if I were president, and it makes me very angry to see that it did happen. But it happened, and we have to stop it. And Mark has done some really good, we've been working together, and he's done some really good work, so I'm very happy about that. We'll also be talking about trade and various other things, and I think we'll have a very strong day. We're going to have lunch afterwards, that'll go, and then we'll see you all later. But Mark, would you like to say something?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Mr. President, again for hosting me, and but also for taking time in Florida a couple of weeks after you were re-elected.
That's right.
And of course our phone call a couple of weeks ago, and I must say, Trump 45, who basically, you originated the fact that in Europe you are spending, you take it to aggregate, 700 billion more in defense than when you came in office in 26 and 27. But that was Trump 45. But then when you look at Trump 47, what happened the last couple of weeks is really staggering. The Europeans committing to a package of 800 billion defense spending. The Germans now, potentially up to $500 billion extra in defense spending. And then of course you had Keir Starmer here, the British Prime Minister, and others, all committing to much higher defense spending. We're not there, we need to do more, but I really want to work together with you in a run-up to the Hague Summit to make sure that we will have a NATO which is really reinvigorated under your leadership, and we are getting there. We also discuss defense production because we need to produce more weaponry. We are not doing enough. And not in the US, not in Europe, and we are lacking behind when you compare to the Russians and the Chinese. And you have a huge defense industrial base. Europeans buying 4 times more here than the other way around, which is good because you have a strong defense industry, but we need to do more there to make sure that we are hand-buttoning the production and kill the red tape. So I would love to work with you on that. And finally, Ukraine, you brought to death, as you said, all the killing, the young people dying, cities getting destroyed. The fact that you did that you started the dialogue with the Russians and the successful talks in Saudi Arabia now with the Ukrainians. I really want to commend you for this. So, The Hague is my hometown. I love to host you there in the summer and work together to make sure that that will be a splash, a real success, projecting American power on the world stage.
What Mark is saying is when I first went to NATO, my first meeting, I noticed that very few people were paying. And if they were, they weren't paying their fair share. There were only 7 countries that were paying what they were supposed to be paying, which was, yeah, it could be even worse. But there were just very few countries that were paying. And even the paying, it was at 2%, which is too low. It should be higher. It should be quite a bit higher. But you had Poland, and I remember Poland was actually paying a little bit more than they were supposed to, which was very impressive. They've been actually terrific, and some of the others. But most of them weren't paying, or they were paying very little. And I didn't think it was appropriate to bring it up there, but I said it's going to be brought up at my next meeting. And my next meeting, the first meeting, you want to give them a little break. The second meeting, it began, and I was able to raise hundreds of billions of dollars. I just said, we're not going to be involved with you if you're not going to pay. And the money started pouring in, and NATO became much stronger because of my actions and working along with a lot of people, including Mark. But they would not pay for other presidents, and I don't think other presidents even knew that they weren't paid. I asked, first question, has everybody paid up? And literally, I mean, they told me 7. You could be right, it could be 3, but that makes it even worse. But they just weren't paying. And I said, no, I won't protect if you're not paying. If you're delinquent or if the money isn't paid, why would we do that? And as soon as I said that, I got a little hit from the press because they said, oh, gee, that's not very nice. But if you said the other, nobody would have paid. And the money started coming in by the billions. And, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars flowed into NATO, and NATO became strong. And you remember that your predecessor, who I thought was a very good man.
Absolutely, Jens Stoltenberg. He sends his
Yeah, so it was terrific. Stoltenberg, Secretary General, and he made the statement that when Trump came in, the money started coming in like we never saw before. Hundreds of billions, actually probably close to $600 billion came in, and NATO became strong from that standpoint. And now we have to use it wisely, and we have to get this war over with, and we'll be back to a normal, much more normal life. And maybe with us, we're getting words that things are going okay in Russia, and it doesn't mean anything until we hear what the final outcome is. But they have very serious discussions going on right now with President Putin and others, and hopefully they all want to end this nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's a horrible thing. When you look, I get pictures every week. They give me the pictures of the battlefield, which I almost don't want to see. It's so horrible to see young people laying arms and legs and heads laying all over the field. It's the most terrible thing that you'll ever see. And it's got to stop. These are young people with mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and friends. And it's got to stop. So we hopefully are going to be in a good position sometime today to have a good idea. We know where we are with Ukraine, and we are getting good signals outside of Russia as to where we are with Russia. And hopefully they'll do the right thing. It's really humanity. We're talking about humanity. We're not talking about the money. But then you add the money to it, and, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars is being spent and really wasted so unnecessarily. It should have never happened. So it's an honor to have you here. They picked a great gentleman. I'll tell you, I was so happy to hear, because you had somebody, Stoltenberg, who's really good, and you have somebody that's going to do an incredible job. And I was so much in favor of you. You have no idea. They had another person that I did not like. I was not happy. And I think I kept him from, you know what I'm talking about. I said, this is the right man to do it. And he really did. He was a great prime minister of the Netherlands. He did a great job. And that's what he's doing right now. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And it's a very great honor to have you. And we even have some of our great energy people here today, right? We have the governor, and we have Chris, you know, Chris is supposed to be the most talented man in the world of energy, according to the governor. So I don't know if he's right. And we have General, you've been fantastic. Thank you very much. And we have a lot of good people that won't be so much involved with this, but they wanted to see what was happening. It's become a little bit of a show, but they wanted to see what was happening, and I think a lot of good things are happening. So with that, if anybody would have a question.
Sorry, Steve Witkoff's trip to Moscow, what sort of agreement do you hope he comes away from that?
Well, we'd like to see a ceasefire from Russia. And we have, not been working in the dark. We've been discussing with Ukraine land and pieces of land that would be kept and lost and all of the other elements of a final agreement. There's a power plant involved, a big power plant involved. Who's going to get the power plant and who's going to get this and that? And so, it's not an easy process. But phase one is the ceasefire. A lot of the individual subjects have been discussed though. We've been discussing concept of land because you don't want to waste time with a ceasefire if it's not going to mean anything. So we're saying, look, this is what you can get, this is what you can't get. They discussed NATO and being in NATO. Everybody knows what the answer to that is. They've known that answer for 40 years, in all fairness. A lot of the details of a final agreement have actually been discussed. Now we're going to see whether or not Russia's there. And if they're not, it'll be a very disappointing moment for the world. Yeah.
Vladimir Putin just said he's open to a ceasefire, but he does still have some concerns. He suggested that you two should speak directly. Do you have plans to speak to him soon? If so, when are you confident you can get this?
Sure. He did say that today. It was a very promising statement because other people are saying different things and you don't know if they have anything to really, if they have any meaning or, I don't know. I think some of them were making statements. I don't think they have anything to do with it. No, he put out a very promising statement, but it wasn't complete. And yeah, I'd love to meet with him or talk to him. But we have to get it over with fast. Every day people are being killed. It's not like, as we sit here, 2 people will be killed. Think of it. 2 people are going to be killed during this little period of time. Thousands of people a week are dying. So we really don't have very much time. We have to make this fast. It shouldn't be very complicated.
Mr. President, a representative of Canada, the finance minister are in town and will meet members of your administration during the day. Any chances that you will ban on the tariffs on aluminum and the ones that are planned for April 2nd?
No.
You are not going to change your mind?
We've been ripped off for years, and we're not going to be ripped off anymore. No, I'm not going to bend at all. Aluminum or steel or cars. We're not going to bend. We've been ripped off as a country for many, many years. We've been subjected to costs that we shouldn't be subjected to. In the case of Canada, we're spending $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. I love Canada. I love the people of Canada. I have many friends in Canada. The great one, Wayne Gretzky, the great. Hey, how good is Wayne Gretzky? He's the great one. But we have, I know many people from Canada that are good friends of mine. But, the United States can't subsidize a country for $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't need their lumber. We don't need anything that they get. We do it because we want to be helpful, but it comes a point when you just can't do that. You have to run your own country. And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anyway. This would be the most incredible country visually. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S. Just a straight artificial line. Somebody did it a long time ago.